Here's a very interesting question which tests unusual traits and doesn't have very obvious answer. John works as a manager at a large company. Recently, John was asked by his boss to sign a contract with a local business who is run by John's longtime friend but who previously had issues with the law. What should John do? And there are 4 choices to choose from. John should sign the contract. It will be a productive relationship since he knows the owner. Choice B. John should use his friendship and ask local business owner to give special discount to his employer to establish a long-term partnership. Choice C. John should work with legal department to add protective clause into legal language of the contract. And last but not least, choice D, John should report potential conflict of interest to his superiors and ask for their advice. Do you see the answer? What's interesting about these types of questions is that you need to select all that apply. Are you ready? I am moving forward to share with you concepts that are tested as part of this test. And obviously this is just my opinion. If you have different thought process, please make sure to share your solutions and choices in comments. I think this question is designed to test the candidate for the concept of conflict of interest. In this question, John has a conflict of interest with his employer. Conflict of interest is when someone's personal obligation or loyalties clash with their duties in the workplace. This is how it works. John's friendship compromises his ability to make impartial decisions, judgments, or actions that serve the best interests of his employer. In addition, John's friend, company owner, had issues with the law in the past, and some industries in some countries, for example financial industries in the United States, may require company to disclose such relationship to the government. John has an established friendship with the local business owner, but at the same time he represents large company as a decision-making manager. Most organizations have policies in place to disclose conflict of interest for employees and managers. Let's look at 3 main reasons why disclosure is so important in the workplace for the company. Number 1, organization needs to have all the information to make decisions. Number 2, disclosing conflict of interest ensures interests of employers are protected. And number 3, it reduces legal problems. I think there are 4 important characteristics and traits that are tested as part of this question. Number 1, understanding laws and regulations. Number 2, understanding companies' compliance policies. Number 3, understanding and disclosing conflict of interest to employer. And number 4, asking question if there is a misunderstanding or lack of clarity. In addition, based on the answers that candidate selects, these are the red flags that this question might disclose. Number 1, lack of objectivity. Number 2, looking for inappropriate favors. Number 3, manipulative or controlling behavior. Number 4, inability to resolve conflict of interest. And number 5, lack of emotional intelligence. Based on this information, I would recommend you avoid choices A, B, and C. Let's look at each one of them individually. Choice A, John should sign the contract. It will be productive relationship since he knows the owner. The fact that it might be productive relationship is true, but this does not provide employer with all the information needed to make a decision. And there might be challenges in the future in this relationship. Another choice to avoid is choice B. John should use his friendship and ask local business owner to give him special discount to his employer to establish a long-term partnership. Even though this choice seems like a favor to the company, this shows manipulative behavior and hiding some information. Let's look at why should we avoid choice C. John should work with legal department to add protective clause into legal language of the contract. There shouldn't be any additional protective clauses here if John discloses all the information and all of his relationship, including conflict of interest. Based on this information, the correct answer here is choice D. John should report potential conflict of interest to his superior and ask for the advice. This choice shows John's humility, discloses conflict of interest, and complies with laws and regulations. Compliance is a formal process in most organizations to address conflict of interest, and the disclosure process is intended to help the workforce to be transparent and accountable for their actions and decisions. Disclosure of potential conflict of interest does not make it an actual conflict, but may help eliminate the perception. What do you think about this question? Do you have a different thought process? Please make sure to share your solution in comments. Here's a very interesting question to test your customer service skills. You work as a retail associate at the New Wave store, which is part of a large global chain. Customer browsed the selection of clothing items and looks very frustrated and dissatisfied. She approaches you, and after you check on the computer, you can't find the item she is looking for inside the store. What would you do next? And you're presented with 4 choices, and you need to select all that apply. Choice A: offer to place an order at New Wave online website. Choice B: apologize that item is unavailable and suggest to try Amazon.com or another retailer. Choice C: mention to the customer that there were supply chain shortages everywhere now. And then last but not least, choice D: call to the store manager to discuss the situation with frustrated customer. Interesting question, don't you think? Take a close look to see if you need to pause this video to come up with the solution. Are you ready? On my end, I am moving forward to share with you my version of the solution. And obviously, if you have a better way to solve it, please educate us and share your solution in comments. I believe this question is designed to validate your ability to handle a conflict and turn things around. The key of successfully resolving the conflict is ability to collaborate with the customer and focus on the solution. Main objective of the interaction is to listen to the customer, understand what customer is trying to do, and try to be genuinely helpful. There are 3 best practices. Number 1, always project "how can I help you" attitude. Number 2, take responsibilities for the issues. And number 3, avoid arguing and escalations. I believe there are 3 essential traits this question is looking for in a candidate: focus on the solution, project helpful attitude, and avoid escalations. There are also red flags that question is trying to pinpoint. Number 1, lack of responsibility, and number 2, searching for excuses. Considering this, choices D and C are the least recommended choices to answer. Let's look at choice D: call to the store manager to discuss the situation with frustrating customer. This is the worst one to select trying to resolve the situation because it takes away time from the manager and shows your inability to handle a conflict and resolve the situation. I also suggest that you do not select choice C: mention to the customer that there are supply chain shortages everywhere else now. Your role as retail associate is not to focus on excuses, but find the solution to the customer. Based on this, I believe that the best choices here are choices A and B. Choice A: offer to place an order at New Wave online website. And choice B: apologize that book is unavailable and suggest to try Amazon.com or another retailer. It is the key to make customer feel happy and appreciated by focusing on the solution and trying to be sincerely helpful. By offering these 2 choices, you show that you do not just trying to make a profit, but also able to offer outside solutions, for example, using Amazon.com retailer. In addition, ability to resolve conflict yourself and keeping customer happy without escalations to the manager is also extremely helpful skill. Do you have a better solution? Please make sure to post your ideas in comments so we can all learn. Can you tell us how many questions did you answer correctly? Please make sure to post in the comment section of this video to share with others. And now let's continue to get you ready for the test. Here's the very interesting question to determine your personality. You just arrived at the corporate event. You do not see anyone you know there. What would you do? You need to select all that apply out of the 4 different choices. Choice A: observe others. Wait for people you know to arrive. Choice B: approach people you don't know and introduce yourself. Choice C: temporarily leave the event and come back later. Choice D: check your itinerary to ensure you're at the right place. Take a close look to see if you can come up with the right answer. So you can always pause this video to determine the answer that you would want to choose. Are you ready? I am moving forward to share with you my version of the solution. And obviously, if you have a better way to answer and have different recommendations, feel free to share in comments. I believe that in this question, you are being tested on whether you're a good team player. Work environments are very collaborative, and companies are looking to hire people that work well with others. There are no easy ways to determine if a candidate is a good team player. For example, recruiters do not screen for quality candidates, but mostly focus on technical skills and try to submit as many candidates as possible to increase their chances. More than 50% of resumes contain lies. Non-team players hype their resumes to look like A players. Questions on behavioral interview are not very revealing. References checks are generally worthless. This is why companies ask questions on the test that might help them to determine the right candidate. During the assessment tests, companies look for essential traits for the team players. They typically look if the candidate is social, if candidate adapts easily to difficult situations, if candidate tackles challenges with enthusiasm, and whether potential employee is a creative problem solver. They also look for the red flags, and typically red flags are that the candidate likes working solo, doesn't take initiative, and maintains a status quo. Obviously, with these types of questions, there is no right or wrong answer, but there is a least recommended answer which you can spot based on the red flags. Because red flags are that the candidate doesn't take initiative, afraid of unfamiliar situations, and passively maintains status quo, the choices to avoid might be choice A, observe others and wait for people you know to arrive, or choice C, temporarily leave the event and then come back later. Based on what we know, organizations are looking to hire people that are team players, that can introduce themselves and feel comfortable and confident in unfamiliar settings. One thing to keep in mind is that you always want to be honest and answer how you would behave. But you also need to understand that your behavior is unpredictable until you're actually in this particular situation. Are you sure you will never behave as the best version of yourself? Can you become intentional and be courageous even if you feel uncomfortable about the situation? Keep in mind that you can also change yourself and behave as a team player. Considering that team player traits are being social, being easily adaptable, and being creative problem solver, the most recommended answer here is choice B. Approach people you don't know and introduce yourself. Do you have a better version on how to answer this question? Please make sure to share in comments. I would like to ask you to participate in our daily assessment test challenge. I post new question every day in the community tab of YouTube channel and give you an opportunity to answer it and try it. And I post answer in comments next day. So please make sure to check it out to test your knowledge. And now let's continue and get you ready for the test. Here's the very unusual question we ran across on a recent test. Sunita has recently joined the team, and she is a vegetarian. Very frequently, you observe that during team lunches, Sunita feels very uncomfortable around Kevin when Kevin discusses his recent hunting trips in great level of details. What should you do? You need to select all that apply in order. Choice A, do nothing. There is no issue, and even if there is, it should be resolved between Sunita and Kevin. Choice B, you should support Sunita by mentioning to her that it is totally normal since Kevin worked for a company for a long time and always shares his hunting stories. Choice C, you should informally mention to Kevin about Sunita's reactions next time you meet with him one-on-one. And last but not least is choice D, you should escalate the issue with your manager. Do you know what you would choose if you're presented with such a test? Give yourself a little bit of time, maybe 15 to 20 seconds, to see if you can come up with the solution. On my end, I am moving forward to share with you my version of the answer. And obviously, if you have a better way to solve it, please make sure to post in comments. What is interesting about this question is that it's not about Sunita and Kevin, but rather this is the question about you and how you would behave in this particular situation. Another important factor is that there is no legal or professional requirement on how to behave in this particular situation, because you always have choices. But this question is designed to analyze your values, and depending upon your values and moral beliefs, you can either play a role of bystander or take actions and try to help. Let's look at the key considerations on how to approach this question. The key questions I would ask is, what would caring leader do in this particular situation? Would leader just observe the issue on the sidelines? Or would the leader take actions and try to interact with the team members to create more positive, safe, friendly, and sympathetic work environment? To create a healthy and productive workplace, it is extremely important to create a community at work. A modern view of the effective work environment highlights creation of the community at the workplace. Creation of the community invites deeper level of belongings for the members and helps improve the engagement, improve commitment, and productivity in the workplace. Let's look at the 5 key elements on how you can create a community at the workplace. Number 1, you should focus on developing the culture of inclusion. You also should understand and appreciate the diversity and try to engage different people with different viewpoints into your team. You should also strengthen team bonds, promote team building, and one of the good ways to do it is complete joint activities together. For example, you can eat lunch, socialize at work and or after work, and do other joint activities. What's important to understand is that diversity and inclusion is more than just a policy at the workplace. The population is rapidly changing, and people employed in the organization are changing with this. The population of people employed in organizations is changing, and people with different backgrounds enter the workforce. The key benefit of having diversity and inclusion is that equitable employees outpace their competitors by respecting unique needs and variety of perspectives of all team members. The benefits of diversity and inclusion can be summarized by higher productivity at work, increased employee engagement and trust, new perspectives and innovation, better decision-making inside and outside of the organization, and stronger business results and profits. Understanding all of these aspects help us understand the traits tested on this test. The essential traits are doing the right thing and taking action as a leader, understanding cultural differences, as well as sincere appreciation of the diversity. Let's analyze key choices and considerations when answering the question. You're presented with the choice to be a bystander and do nothing, but you also can do a right thing as a leader even though it might be uncomfortable. You can also try to maintain the status quo and just calm down Sunita by telling her that it is okay since it always was like that. You can also behave as a true leader and show true appreciation of diversity and inclusion benefits. You can take uncomfortable step and grow as a leader yourself, which would help attract and keep the pipeline of talented team members into the organization. So what are the red flags that this question helps to uncover? Number 1 is it helps uncover people that try to maintain status quo versus being a change agent. It also helps detect people that are uncomfortable in promoting the change. You can also detect people that are being afraid of conflict that is required for the change. And also you can eliminate people that have lack of understanding of diversity and inclusion principles. Let's look at considerations for the internal compass of the person answering the question. It is almost effortless to take the easy route and behave in politically correct way, but you can also take a lead and do the right thing. The true leader always goes with what heart is telling her and him and does the right thing. In addition, by mentioning to Sunita that she should get used to it because it is always the way it was, you will not be able to comfort her, since she most likely will continue to be uncomfortable. Leaders often play a role of the change agent in the organization and are not afraid of the conflict that might be required for a change. Based on this analysis, I think the choices to avoid are choices A, B, and D. Choice A, do nothing. There is no issue, and even if there is, it should be resolved between Sunita and Kevin. Choice B, you should support Sunita and mention to her that it is totally normal since Kevin worked for a company for a long time and always shared his stories. And last but not least choice to avoid is choice D. You should escalate the issue with your manager. I know you might disagree, but I am of the opinion that there is nothing here in this situation that might require manager engagement. Based on this analysis, I think that the recommended answer here is choice C. The goal of every organization is to create a safe, positive, and caring work environment where team members feel comfortable, enjoy working together, and have opportunity to reach their full potential. Some issues can't be solved through organizational policies or escalations to the managers, but rather these issues require a help from true leaders who understand cultural differences, appreciate diversity, and are not afraid to speak up and share their opinion. Based on this, I think the recommended answer here is choice C. You should informally mention to Kevin about Sunita's reaction next time you meet with Kevin one-on-one. The assumption here is that Kevin will recognize the discomfort he is causing to Sunita and will stop sharing the stories when Sunita is present. Do you have any other suggestions on how to answer this question? Please make sure to post them in comments. Thanks for watching. If you liked the content, please give us a like and consider subscribing. Thanks for all your endorsement, support, and patronage. For additional helpful information, please make sure to check out links in the description. For detailed list of available resources, I encourage you to check out resources page on our website, howtoanalyzedata.net/resources. If you know someone who would benefit from this content, please consider sharing the link. Please leave the feedback, corrections, or suggestions in comments. And all the best on your journey. I'll see you in my next video.